Hello, hello, hello. This is Sai. You're watching the Overreaction. It is time for week 4 of the Overwatch League season to begin. And with that, let's get into day 1 of week 4. We have the Atlanta Reign versus the LA Gladiators, the Valiant versus the Fusion, and the Defiant versus the Hunters. So our first match of the week, the Atlanta Reign versus the LA Gladiators. The Atlanta Reign, I think, are going to win this. They've been playing much better, and the Gladiators right now are just really struggling. Moving on to our next match of the day, the LA Valiant versus the Fusion. I think the Fusion are going to win this match. Even with the Valiant having talented players like Fate and Izayaki on the roster, they've really struggled, and they haven't been able to find a win, and I don't think it's going to be against the Fusion. Our last match of the day being the Toronto Defiant versus the Chengdu Hunters. The Chengdu Hunters have shown they really can't play the traditional 3-3 comp, and so I think that's going to basically be their undoing, and the Toronto Defiant are going to win that match. Alright, day 1 is done. Now on to day 2. We have the Paris Eternal versus the Titans, the Excelsior versus the Shock, and the Fuel versus the Dragons. Our first match of day 2, the Eternal versus the Titans, is going to be a great match to watch. I think the Titans are just a better team. I don't see them losing here in stage 1, and I think they're going to beat the Eternal. On to match 2, it's the Excelsior versus the Shock. The Shock have played really well in stage 1. They've obviously mastered the 3-3 meta, and I think it's going to be a great match, but the Excelsior are just so good. They've continued being dominant here in season 2, and I think they're going to win that match. And the last match, the Shanghai Dragons versus the Dallas Fuel. Man, I have loved watching the Shanghai Dragons play this stage. They've played great. It was awesome. We got to see them get their first win. Last week they had a great match against the Fuel. I think that's going to repeat, but I think the Dragons are going to come out on top this time. And off to day 3. Day 3 we're looking at the Valiant versus the Outlaws, the Dynasty versus the Justice, the Charge versus the Gladiators, and the Spark versus the Defiant. Our first match of the day is taking place between two teams that have really struggled in stage 1, the Valiant and the Outlaws. The Outlaws are one of the fan favorites. They're one of my personal favorite teams. They have struggled a little bit less than the Valiant, and that's, I think, is going to be enough to get them past the Valiant. I just don't see where the Valiant are actually going to take away a match here in stage 1. Our next match is the Dynasty versus the Justice. I'm going to be honest, I had higher hopes for the Justice. I thought they were going to be better than what they've been so far here in stage 1. Maybe they'll be better in stage 2, but right now the Dynasty are just playing better, and they're going to take away that win. And our third match of the day, the Gladiators versus the Charge. The Gladiators have continued to struggle. As I said before in the video, I don't think they're going to win this match. The Charge, I thought they were going to have a major problem with communication, but they've done really well keeping that diverse roster together and playing well. They're going to win this match. And our last match of day 3, the Spark versus the Defiant. The Spark were struggling a little bit there. They seem to have found an answer with having Gushui in on main tank and not having No Smite play. So I think they're going to win this match. I think overall they're a better roster than the Defiant, even though the Defiant, I have proven they're a pretty good team. I think the Spark are just going to be better. And now we have our fourth and final day of week 4 matchups. We have the Eternal versus the Shock, the Spitfire versus the Dragons, the Mayhem versus the Uprising, and the Titans versus the Hunters. Our first match of the day, the Eternal versus the Shock. I think the Shock will actually come away with the win here. They've played really well. They've played up to their opponents. The Eternal have kind of struggled. They've shown there is some weakness on that roster, so I think the Shock are going to take advantage and win that matchup. Our next match, we have the Spitfire versus the Dragons. The Spitfire really struggled to start the season, but they've really come around. The roster continuity is much better. They've moved Prophet over to Zarya, which is where he should have been the entire time, and they're playing much better. They're going to beat the Dragons. As much as I would love to see the Dragons win, I think the Spitfire are going to win. Then we have the Mayhem versus the Uprising. The Mayhem just aren't playing well right now. The Uprising with Fusions in the lineup are a better team, and I think they're going to take the win. And our last match of the week, the Titans versus the Hunters. The Titans are really good. I think they're going to win out the rest of the stage. They're going to beat the Hunters. The Hunters are fun to watch, but the Titans are just better. Those are my picks for week 4. Let me know in the comments section which matches you think are going to be really great this week. I'm excited. The stage is almost over. Next week we'll be able to talk playoffs. That's right, I said playoffs. I'm super excited. I'm pumped. Can't wait for next week's video. Please like the video, share it with your friends, follow the page. This has been the Overreaction. This is Sai. Thank you for watching.